Boom.
Hey, it's Tuesday night in Los Angeles. Welcome to Mainstream Metaphysics. It's men's night.
That's what we men do. We do this.
Exactly. It is men's night here, and co-hosting with me is Jason Michael Powers. You've been on the show before. Welcome back. And to all of you here live at the Newmont Center, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you watching at home, I see we're already getting hearts coming up. A few announcements, just a few, before we get into this incredible group and what you've been doing every Tuesday night for a few months now. Well, one of the names coming up is Heather Grace Powers. I think we know her.
Wait a second, I know her.
Tomorrow night, Heather will be here with her feminine empowerment group. Thursday night, and this is something we can talk about with the guys too. Audrey's focus on Thursday night is going to be dissociation, which is something that goes on a lot when people have been traumatized. In other words, it never happened. That's the bottom line of dissociation. And I think I'll pick up the other announcements next week's show. But next week's show, my guest is Selena Culp, who does a lot of different things. She is a doTERRA rep. She has studied with me very advanced levels of the healing work. She is a certified hypnotherapist. She is a graduate of HMI, as I am and Audrey are. And
HMI, what's that?
Hypnosis Motivation Institute in Tarzana.
That's right.
Okay, one of the best hypnosis schools in the world. And we look forward to having her and other fascinating guests. And quick announcement planetarily. So tomorrow at around 5:15 a.m.
What happens?
Pacific time, Mercury goes direct, so we can clear out all the communication
Hallelujah.
nonsense.
No,
So
we can sign contracts now.
we can sign contracts, yes. And we can be agreeable with each other. Mercury goes direct.
Okay.
And won't have any retrogrades to deal with until late April. And then this coming Saturday is a new moon in the sign of Aquarius. And when there's a new moon, we can start new things, begin new habits. And in an Aquarius, it means we're going to think outside the box. Now, when it comes to therapy for men, and I've been a therapist now 30 years, what I found years ago that my ratio from women to men of my weekly book was about 85% women, 15% men. And that is way out of line. And men have gotten the bad rap for years, especially in marriages. If you think it's a problem, then you go to therapy.
Right.
Okay? Now, I have to tell you something. That my book now, in percentage of female to male clients on a weekly basis.
What is your book?
Oh, my appointment book.
I thought you meant this
that book.
This book.
Hey, that class is coming up on Saturday, February 4th. Numerology, the 20th anniversary of numerology. Look at that guy with all that hair.
Look at that guy. Do you know I only
Thank
have
you.
tattoos of numbers on my body? I like numbers too, Nick. Just kidding.
We got your
Squirrel.
number. Who's squirreling?
Me.
Okay. Sometimes a nut, sometimes a squirrel. All right, so now my appointment book shows about 65% women, 35% men. That is a huge change because men want help, okay? And I think that what we want to do now is really morph over to you and what you've been doing in your group, and you use the book to be a man.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Nick, for having us with you.
Sure.
I'm representing many men behind us who are staying anonymous. They just they're here, they're present, and
They're unanimous.
they're unanimous and anonymous. But it's I just appreciate you and Audrey opening up your space to Heather
Absolutely.
and I. As Heather's here, she's been working with some amazing women here at the center, and
Oh my God, yeah.
it has just been a joy to really serve our community here. And
We love having the two of you here.
Thank you.
We just, aside from what you and she do as good work, we just like you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Somebody likes me.
They-
That's a little Oscar
yeah,
moment. You know.
exactly.
We geek out at sometimes. So we've got two podcasts going here. We've got my stream here. So hello, everybody. Nick Newmont of the Newmont Center out here
Hi,
in
everyone
Agoura.
on Jason's podcast.
But, you know, months ago, I gotta go back. I've just always felt called to circle men around more so a book, because I found that we men, if we don't have a 12-step recovery program, if we don't have a church group, we men aren't really meeting. Because as you said, a lot of men aren't going to meditation groups. They're not going to, you know, there's a few men going to yoga retreats, not necessarily for yoga. Necessarily, I think it's for something else, but...
Because there's a lot of women that
There's a lot of nice clothes and women in front of you that you can look at. So, but
can I ask you a question? Are we basically lone wolves at heart?
lone wolves by heart, I think, is the typical path of a man. You know, that we men tend to go through life. We don't really ask for directions. We think we know what we know, and we don't ask for help. We don't seek help. We kind of be numb to our life, you know. And there's a quote that I wanted to read that really kind of catalyzes why we do what we do. And it's from, and some of you may have heard of it, some of you may have not. It's a Hopi elder. He says, "You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And these are the things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in the right relation? Where's your water? Know your garden. It's time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other and do not look outside yourself for the leader." Then he clasped his hands together and smiled and said, "This could be a good time. There's a river flowing now very fast. It's so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they're torn apart and they will suffer greatly. No, the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above water. And I say, see who's in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time for the lone wolf is over. Ding, 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 ding. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for." This is attributed to a Hopi elder out in Arizona.
By the way, I hadn't pre-read that. I didn't know the thing about the lone wolf was in there.
Nice.
I just said that.
You are psychic, though.
So they say.
It's been said. It's been known. So
That's really good.
yeah, it just feels like it really is the motivation for why, you know, being called together. It's time for us men to come together. It's time for us men, as I heard Spirit whisper in my ear, to be honest and be better. You know, we men, we tend to apologize to one another. We tend to apologize to our spouses. We tend to apologize to our children. And apologies are necessary, but sometimes it's just time to be better. Right. To be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better brother, to be a better community member. And we can't do it alone. You know, I've found in my own journey that when I unzip my own heart and unpack it, there you are, there I am. I am that. I am. And we men tend to wear our armor. We tend to wear our mask. We tend to show off what we are and what we know. I say sometimes we men, we like to compare. We like to compete. We like to conquer. We like to condemn. We like to criticize. We like to coerce. We like to convert ideas from here in our head. But it's time to take that long journey from the head to the heart. And so instead of me coming together with a group of men and saying, let me tell you what I know, I don't want to be the leader. I'm not saying I'm the leader. It's like, let's gather around. Let's put a stake in the ground and say, we're going to meet here at the Newmont Center every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And we're going to read this book for now. And it's probably backwards to you, but it's called To Be a Man, A Guide to True Masculine Power, by Dr. Robert Augustus Masters, who's written many, many, many a book He's in his 70s. He's an elder. He's been working with men's work for a long, long time. And he wrote a book called Bringing Your Shadow Out of the Dark. He wrote a book, what's it, Mark? What's it called? Emotional Intimacy. You know, one of our fellow members, Mark here, really has gravitated to his work, and he can, you know, it's really practical. It's not new agey woo-woo. It's really nuts and bolts, and it gets into 3 areas specifically that we men are diving into, which is shame, sexuality, and power. And I've just been, you know, as I say, we've got men behind us. You can't see it, everybody. But we're going to just dive in. Usually what we do, just to kind of give you a clue, we're not going to do our men's group as we normally do.
Sure.
Because it's really, I've been getting a lot of requests for people that want to do this online and be connected to us virtually, and I appreciate that. But I felt called that it was time for us just to meet in the physical in the community here locally. And get in and you know, because we've been in a time where we've been Zooming and we've been in these little boxes forever. It's time for us to get in each other's presence and commune together. And so we come together for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And I say this for those of you that are watching, you can do this right where you are in your community. You know, whether it's this book or another book, there's great books called The Warrior, The King, The Magician, The Lover. I'm representing, again, it's backwards. It says, Ignite the King. These are some friends of mine, Russell Reynolds and Michael Diamond, who have a men's group that they work on these 4 archetypes. And diving deep into these pillars and the archetype of men's work. And so, you have a question?
No, not a question, just a little bit of an addendum. It's something you said earlier, and this really is about men, is that the saying, asking for help is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. But there is a perception for men that if I need help and I have to admit to that, then
Yeah.
you know, I'm
weak.
Yeah,
I'm weak.
Exactly.
And we address that in this book. We talk about, you know, Robert writes about the idea of what a man is, what is true masculinity, and we've been told a bill of goods that are a lie. We've been sold a bill of goods that is no longer appropriate.
Right.
And, you know, for us men, we're in a time where we're trying to go, what is a man? What is a woman? What is this? What does it mean to be in this form? And I know as a man growing up, I don't know about anybody else, and you can speak to this, but I grew up not understanding why more women weren't in power. I didn't understand that. I feel like I came into this world, Nick, with different codes and an intention, because I don't understand the suppression of the feminine. Now, mind you, and we talk about this, we talk about addictions, we talk about various things where I've had addictions to various things that have not honored women, you know, and there's a calling for a new masculine power, and it's not the one that says, I don't need help.
Right.
A true masculine power has got the courage to say, yo, I'm afraid. I'm struggling here, and I need my brothers. I need my community around me, and this is what this is about. So tonight, instead of going through our regular format, we usually begin with a meditation for like 7 minutes. And some of the men have meditated before, some haven't, and so they're learning meditation. But we're just dropping in for a good 7 minutes. And then generally what we do is we open it up. We open up for some round robin sharing. And tonight we're not going to do that. We're not going to go into specifically what we call the hits and the pits and the place, but those are really powerful. Those sometimes take us into an hour. You know, we're really diving deep, and men are shedding tears. They're really sharing vulnerably what's going on. As we said, the mission of our group is to be honest, to be radically transparent, and to be better. And this is a place that we create, a safe place for men to be heard, to be seen, to not feel that they're less than. And that's kind of how we begin. But tonight what I felt like we would do, Nick, is just kind of talk about some really key elements from this book. And I asked the men beforehand to kind of share, you know, what page from this book that really impacted them, how has it impacted their life. So we're just going to go, we'll begin round robin here. BK.
Well, speaking on...
And if you could let us know, because we're going to have you speak, I just want to make sure that you can hear this man behind us.
Can you hear me? People on...
Give us a
live.
thumbs up. Give us a say, yes, we hear you.
Give me a flame emoji if you can hear me. I'm very shy.
Yeah, no, not hardly.
Do we get any flames? Can they hear me?
I see hearts from Heather. So I'm assuming yes.
I'm gonna take it. Well, based off of what you just said, it's funny because it actually leads into two of the ones that I picked out. Page 17.
Page 17.
Under vulnerability.
Ooh, nice. Vulnerability.
It says, the first bullet point says vulnerability, unguarded openness, does not have to mean weakness or a lack of masculinity. It can be an act of courage and a source of strength.
Oh.
And I know for me, being vulnerable has always been an uncomfortable feeling, and I'm learning that it's actually more so more of a power move, because it's releasing the energy that you kind of hold on to, the control that you hold on to. And when you release that, you allow more into the conversation that you're having. Where when you're trying to control it and you're trying to push the sail one way and steer the conversation towards only what's important to you, you're in an act kind of disrespecting your partner or the other person.
Right.
And you're not connecting with them on a human level. You know, so by dropping that guard, dropping that layer of control, and allowing yourself to be more vulnerable, it's actually an act of courage because you're letting go.
Right. Yeah. That's powerful. You have something.
Yeah, a question, BK. I do have a question. When you were saying that it's a feeling that you have a moment ago, and it's when it's uncomfortable, do you actually feel it in your body? Is it something that when you go into that it's like the chest, the stomach, the shoulders, any place that it just shows up as an actual feeling?
Yeah, it's a big, almost like a pit in your stomach sometimes.
Interesting.
You know, and I mean, I know a lot of my childhood and early man years, you know, always felt very unstable. So I felt the need to control the environment to make sure that it was as stable as I could make it. And but you start applying that control to too many aspects and where it's not needed.
Right.
But because you're just going off the deep end of trying to make sure that whatever feeling you've had before, whatever that scenario was, doesn't recreate itself because it was hurtful.
Right.
And most of the time, men turn hurt into frustration, into anger, instead of into something more empathic. You know.
Well, I think
asking
a common reaction for men is to defend.
Correct.
Okay, I think it's almost automatic. Guys are nodding their heads. I think that's very common.
Yeah.
There's a great little book I invite you guys all to take a look. It's a little, and it's almost like a kid's book. It's called The Knight in the Rusty Armor. And it's about a knight who's just, you know, he slays dragons. That's what I do. He identifies by being this, you know, heroic knight. And he's at a place where he's just kind of sitting at the dinner table with his kids and his family, but he can't take off his armor. And he's getting sad because his family's afraid of him. They don't see him anymore. You know, and this is kind of like parallel to men who are just constantly working. They're not there present for their families. They're not there emotionally is what we're getting to. And that he ends up crying in his armor and he ends up rusting the whole armor. And it's a little cute story. It's very small, but men, take a look at that, and women, so that you understand the hearts of men. And just if you're catching up with my broadcast here, that this is Nick Newmont. We're doing a live feed of the men's circle that I lead here on Tuesday nights with these men that are behind us, that are talking about key elements of to be a man. And we talked about vulnerability, unguarded openness, and you know, I don't know if you've seen the TED Talk where it was Dr. Brene Brown talked about the power of vulnerability. One of the most viewed TED Talks, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, the power of being vulnerable is a paradigm shift. When we understand, when I'm weak, I'm strong. When I'm not trying to put on my armor and act like I got it together. When I say, you know, I need help, I'm vulnerable,
right.
You open up, because we're all connected, we're all one. And so when I get to rush in and be that support, you know, and I know my brother BK here, he is a first responder. If he can be of support and help to somebody who's vulnerable, he's feeling fulfilled in his purpose. And so for somebody to say, I need help, another man, it is by nature, when the stuff goes down on our planet, humanity shows up
right.
in the vulnerable way. And so I think being vulnerable for a man is maybe new, but I encourage us to try it. Mr. JM.
Okay, let's see. For me, a couple things actually. One of them, I like the true masculine power happens when courage, integrity.
What page is that, John?
Oh, I'm sorry. Page 20. Or
Page
the double X. Basically, Roman numerals.
Roman numerals in the intro.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So.
Right, I have that highlighted. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd say true masculine power happens when courage, integrity, vulnerability, compassion, awareness, and the capacity to take strong actions are all functioning together. Such power is potent but not aggressive, challenging but not shaming, grounded but not rigid, forceful but not pushy. Again, it requires head, heart, and guts in full-blooded alignment.
You know, I'd like to read that again, just for those that may not have been able to hear that.
Yeah.
What John just read, true masculine power happens when courage, integrity, vulnerability, compassion, awareness, and the capacity to take strong action are all functioning together. Such power is potent, but not aggressive. Challenging, but not shaming. Grounded, but not rigid. Forceful, but not pushy. Again, it requires head, heart, and guts. And that's what we talk a lot about that. So John, what is that, how does that look like for you?
I just feel like it feels really good inside that, how do I say it? It's where they're all working together, you know, and I feel like it's bringing change in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's helping me in the things that I've gone through and so forth, and being here is kind of coming to these meetings actually making me more think that I'm more of a man now, you know, and one of the things is what it says about the shadow. It really resonates with me because I've had a lot of issues in my life that it's been like traumatizing in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to come here and express my feelings
Mm-hmm.
to my people,
Mm-hmm.
it's like an eye-opener for me. It's like the challenges that I have now are not as bad as they were before. I'm here, it's really helped me a lot. And I've noticed that when I have my addiction, I tend to kind of like having this place resonate and thinking back, I'm like, okay, I need to put that aside right now. I need to really think of how to be a man, how to push my my inner thoughts and how I'm going through with that in my addiction,
Yeah.
and how to overcome it.
Yeah.
And coming here has helped me quite a bit.
Wow.
Doing that.
Great.
You're going to make me cry, man.
I know.
You're going to make me
I'm
cry.
starting to.
You're going to make me cry. Because that's really, and I just want to highlight you, brother, that you've been vulnerable. You've been transparent. You're being honest, and you're being better in many ways. And we talk about, you know, I've spent some time in the 12-step recovery program, and something, you know, some really key jewels that I walked away from. This isn't about perfection. This is about progress. That we men really, and I want to inspire all of you that are watching, that men are doing the work, that we men are taking responsibility, we're being accountable, and that's new for many men.
I want to share something, because first of all, that phrase "do the work" is huge, especially when there's so many different spiritual and metaphysical modalities where it's easy to circumvent
bypass all
into
of
the
that.
spiritual bypass.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you that my wife Audrey works with families more than I do, but there are several circumstances where in marriages the men are doing the work, and she's coming to me, and this is my wife, a woman, saying that in several circumstances the women aren't doing the work, that it's the men that are doing the work in those situations.
Wow.
So
There's a
kudos.
shift.
Yeah, there is a shift. There really is.
Wow.
I'd like to ask the group a question, and they can't tell your voice if you just want to nod or no either way, okay? But it comes out of situations and circumstances beginning with parents, or I really should say mother, and then partners or spouses. Have any of you ever felt in dealing with a woman emasculated.
Yeah.
Yeah, one yes. Okay, it's just interesting. Now that's
Some of their women may be watching, so
well, they can't hear exactly, you know.
They can pick out it.
they know their voices.
Well, that's why I said you could nod. You could nod or shake your head if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I'm not going with that in percentages or anything. It was simply a from the heart question.
Yeah.
You know, because there is a hesitancy in certain situations to be vulnerable to certain people at certain times.
Yeah.
And what I really like about this group amongst men is that you all feel safe with each other to communicate your feelings. And sometimes certain circumstances, men don't feel safe in, you know, opening their hearts for fear of what could be said. You'd look less, feel judged. Okay? Like I work with a couple, and the guy, in this case, he's the one that's got to change things. But I had to say to her, and when you're working with couples, you got to juggle. I said, okay, but you can't make him feel judged. Okay? And I said that to the wife. I said, you can't make him feel judged, otherwise he's going to shut down.
Yeah.
He's got to feel safe to open up.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
But thank you for being honest in your responses.
Yeah. And it's both. I mean, we're working on that. We talk about that in this. We talked actually about one of the key elements about creating that place where it's called wrathful compassion, which is a phrase. Like most people, what's wrathful compassion even look like? Heart-centered anger. Anger, we were told as men, is bad. We've been told that we've been cut off because, you know, we have been emasculated. I grew up not being apologetic for being a man because I saw the abuse of masculine power. I saw the tyranny, the control, the domination, the abuse by masculine abusers. And I didn't see, you know, a lot of heroes growing up for myself of men. I come from some really deep wounds of the father, and I've done a lot of healing work to forgive. I have a great relationship with my stepfather today. But, you know, growing up, he was an alcoholic. He was abusive, and he got help. And he's 20 years some sober, and I cry when I get on the phone with him now.
Right.
But we men are learning how to gain our power back. And again, this is to be a man, a guide to true masculine power. And we're talking about vulnerability. We're talking about compassion because we've been told the IQ is so important. What's your IQ? What's your IQ?
Right.
What's your IQ? You do your IQ test. You go to the colleges. What's your IQ? That's how you get graded and positioned in the workforce sometimes. You've got an IQ. But what about the EQ? Where's your EQ? Because as we know as metaphysicians, the emotional field is the rocket fuel of creation.
Sure.
It's where we are, you know, when we visualize it and we feel it, boom, we manifest it, we create it. And so we men are learning to get into our emotional body to feel, and sometimes it's foreign. There's emotional illiteracy, and that's why Dr. Robert Masters has written a book about this to go deeper. But I want to have some of the men, you know, share. So I'm going to go over to the corner over there, this amazing man that I've grown to love and adore, and he's an anchor in this group, a very wise man. We call him MS. Not because of anything, but just initials. I'm going by initials here.
Okay.
Or and you can say your first name if you want, but I'm just giving
Either of them.
No
that
BS
word.
on the MS.
Yeah.
No BS.
No BS from MS.
Oh my.
The page numbers are different since I'm using an electronic copy, but I'm in chapter 3, about 3/4 of the way through a section called Shame and Performance.
Shame and performance. I'm there with you.
Shame has most men not only by the mind in the form of a drill sergeant or an inner critic, but also by the balls. Its grip may be relatively light, but can tighten at any time, contracting the belly and by sagging the upper portion. Its droop and slump of shame, however much it might be camouflaged, becomes the dominant structuring in men, subjecting them to its relentless gravitational pull. In considering shame and how ties to my sense of self-worth. I was way overcommitted to achievement as a way to prove that I have worth. And I felt as though there was little worth in the absence. And I really had no idea how much shame I had. And getting in touch with that has made a lot of room for my family to be closer. And that's been very, very valuable to me.
Thank you. Again, that's a man who just shared. Hopefully you can hear him well. I mean, I've just witnessed you, brother, just really, it has brought tears to my eyes to watch the transformations happen. And knowing your family deeply and loving your family deeply, I've witnessed this work, that what we've done. And it's like, I've said, Nick, I don't want this to be 25, 35, 100 people. This isn't about this. This is really an intimate, potent container that we men are diving in deep in. What, if you couldn't hear, I was talking about shame. And I'll read this again. Shame has most men not only by the mind in the form of a drill sergeant, of an inner critic, but also by the balls. Its grip may be relatively light, but can tighten any time, contracting the belly and sagging the upper torso. The droop and the slump of shame, however much it might be camouflaged by the erectness of a compensatory pridefulness, then becomes a dominant restructuring in men, subjecting them to this relentless gravitational pull. And what our brother here was presencing is that, the suicide rate in men is enormous. That we men are going alone in life. Again, we go back to what we read, the time of the lone wolf is done. We men we're not realizing how much shame that we're carrying about our past mistakes, about maybe our economic, plateau at the moment. We men are expected to be strong and be stoic. And, I don't know if it's true. I talked about this last week when we were just a little glimpse. I've heard statistics have shown that men are actually more emotional. We just don't know how to deal with it, and we don't know. And so with this is a process that we're getting in to deal with shame.
Well, there is, first of all, there is the feeling that you have in there about something or about an event, a memory, okay? But then it's how that is expressed. Does it come off as grief? Does it come off as anger? Does it come off as frustration? Does it come off as joy? But there is a feeling. It's just a matter of the vehicle that we choose to express and how it's perceived. And you were talking a few minutes ago about anger. There is such a thing as righteous anger, that comes out, okay? Like when people say that, oh, you shouldn't be angry about whatever, okay? We choose and pick our battles, of course, but why? Why suppress the anger? Okay, that's unhealthy to do that. Now, it doesn't mean you go ranting and raving about every little thing. Don't mean that. But when we are angry about something, we look at that because we get intimidated by that. Whereas if we were talking about somebody that was upset about something, we have a tendency to invalidate the feeling. Well, you shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to do that anymore. If we have a feeling about something, then express that feeling. And it can also, I don't like that, I don't want that, whatever that is. Just express the feeling. Yeah. But it can have emotion behind it. And that's okay to demonstrate an emotion. High, low, happy, sad, joyful, angry, whatever it is.
100%.
Just allow that. Don't keep the feeling in here, okay? If you have a feeling and it wants to be expressed with a certain magnitude, then express it as such, okay?
That's 100%, Nick. We've actually addressed this, and I think our next brother is going to really kind of touch on this because we've been diving deep lately into the topic of anger versus aggression. Some of us may see this world in different ways, but there is changes that need to happen. And there is a need for noble men to step up and be protectors and to get angry. As I said in what broadcast news, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there is this fire that Gandalf, that thou shalt not pass. We're done. We're facing. But what we do sometimes as men is we go out and fight the dragons out there and move the furniture in the house to what I need it to be. And we need to turn that. Yes, do that. But yes, take care of the dragons in here. Take care of the shadow dancing that you're going on instead of projecting it out into the world of everybody needing to change. And that's where aggression comes in. We talked about that. So, you know, I'm going to come over here to my brother, MJ. And he's got, funny thing is he's born in 1984. And one of our young guns here, and a genius and an amazing warrior heart. But his favorite was on page 84. So share with us, brother.
Yeah, so the section it's in is the difference between anger and aggression, as you said. I'm just going to read this paragraph here. If, while in the midst of being aggressive, we were to feel some caring for the other, we'd be starting to shift from aggression to anger. We might still feel outraged, but would be dropping out of attack mode. This is a hugely significant shift, essential for our healing, as it returns us to a skillful and healthy functioning anger, the kind of anger needed to fuel the needed turnarounds in our life and culture. Nonviolence doesn't mean an absence of anger, but rather a life-giving use of it. And this is not possible so long as we continue to let our anger morph into aggression. Anger and compassion can coexist, but aggression and compassion cannot. There is no empathy in aggression, and without empathy, there is no compassion.
Boom. So if you don't mind, brother, just, you know, how is that? Because you came in and we had an amazing moment. We won't go into all the whole political aspect of, you know, or the nuances of it, because it was a deep moment. It was one of those moments that we on this planet, if you could have been a fly on the wall here, while we had an uncomfortable conversation about an idea, an ideal, a way of being, that we are canceling each other. We are hurling insults and opinions all over social media about what you believe, what you think, your facts, my facts, his facts, and it's not getting us anywhere. As a dear friend of mine said, war is an acronym for we are right. And there is, we've been for eons and aeons and aeons of time, been killing and destroying each other for the danger of the other that has a different belief system, a different race, a different way of being, whatever it is. And so we were in a space where we came into a conversation that was dealing with this very thing about anger and aggression. And can you share, brother, how that has moved in your world, and you're still processing it, we're still unpacking it. But how do you feel like being here and going through this and being in this work with us has really impacted you?
Wow. Well, I'll start by saying I can acknowledge that I've been full of anger, right? Like I've been living through the last 3 years, and there's like everything in the world to be angry at. I'm so like deeply dissatisfied with the state of the planet, with being economically attacked, with being censored on social media, with having my voice stomped on, essentially. Mm-hmm. Where does the anger even end?
Right.
Where does it even end? How do I even start to address the anger I feel? Right? So, yeah, here I'm already emotional, right? Like, it's like, but yeah, seeing the difference, just you know, it was big for me to see that there is a difference between anger and aggression, to know that my anger is valuable is huge. Because I want to flip tables.
Yeah.
In the way that Jesus Christ walked in, flipped the tables in the temple. I'm pissed. I want to flip every table I possibly can, and there's a lot of tables to flip. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have kids. So it's like,
you got 3 amazing
they
kids.
They test me every single day.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just like a battle for my attention, battle for what to like, even where to direct the anger, how not to take it out on people in the form of aggression. So, and you know, the key was like seeing that aggression is actually not addressing the anger, right? Like the aggression is like this speech.
Say that again.
When you come out with the aggression, it's actually not addressing the anger. So, because underneath the anger, there's like the pain and the hurt. So it's like if I got better at sharing that, what's kind of hurting me, that would be more effective than, you know, using profane words and
Yeah.
The key word there becomes dehumanization in a way, because if you're dehumanizing the other people you're angry at or whatever, then there's no connection. There's no healing. So healing is the goal, to be clear. That's
Yeah.
why
Right.
table flipping needs to occur.
Yeah.
That healing is the goal. So
Yeah.
that's why I don't want to, you know, turn to aggression. But,
May I
I'm
ask a
crying over
question?
here again. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm moved. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So underneath that, I do have a question for you. I don't know if you can answer it in the moment. So when you're talking about all the anger that's in there, but what is the fear that's underneath this that's driving that?
the first thing that came to mind was feeling abandoned. Yeah, feeling abandoned. Like I'm alone in my perspective, and of course I'm not. Like there's other people. There's like other influencers, people you could watch on different, you know, platforms, especially the ones that don't censor people. But I don't have a lot of people in my real life who even have a clue of like what's really going on. So, yeah, I mean we're in a war, so I guess I feel abandoned when my brothers don't show up for the battle.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's the piece that we talk about, like in our anger, can we be vulnerable? Because what happens when we get angry as men, I mean, we're used to this. We can handle anger more than I think women do. We tend to, there's ways that Dr. Masters talks about it. Anger out, anger in, mindful anger, you know, you're just kind of like, okay, Musa, I'm aware I'm angry. But that's almost anger in. And heartful anger is that place where it's like, okay, I'm done. We're done with this. Okay, I'm done with this in my life. I'm done. We're going to have a conversation about this. It might be a little fiery. I'm not going to dehumanize you and tell you you're not a human, that you deserve, they deserve, those that we deem to be a villain, an enemy, a bad character, a bad actor, whatever we want to call them, they are still human.
Right.
I truly believe that there is no spot where God is not. There is no place where the divine spark is not alive in sentient life. And for us, in the way Jesus healed, was he saw the spark of divinity in every single thing, even the sick, the lepers, the ones that we judge as bad. And if we're going to heal, if we're going to bridge, if we're going to have peace on earth one day, we've got to come from a place where, yes, it's time that we're done with the lies, we're done with the deceit, we're done with the manipulations, we're done with the abuse of power. And we, the people, stand up and speak. We, the men, stand up and go, no more. We are going to be better, first of all, because I know that as one goes, so goes the collective. As one goes, so goes the collective. As one of us heals. You know, there's this conversation in certain circles that there's this event, there's this moment. And I truly believe, Nick, and I've said this before, I think it's going to happen with somebody or a group of somebodies that has a deep act of forgiveness, so deep that the whole quantum thing shifts. It's not by going out there and convincing, converting, coercing, condemning, conquering. It's compassionately communicating with that connecting and compassionately communicating in a place where we're going, look, I know you're human. I love you, brother. I forgive you. I forgive you so-and-so for what you've done, but I am not going to dehumanize you. And when we can, even in our spouses, in our relationships, when we can speak, when we're angry, I know this in my own relationship with my beloved Heather Grace, like when I'm upset and I get angry in my relationship, we get angry, we have conflict. But if I can say, I'm feeling this, as opposed to you're doing this to me, you know, we can take responsibility.
Oh, sure.
You know, it's powerful.
Well, one of the things that, and there are so many different things are being touched on, but one, we have to stop the polarization.
Yeah.
Because nothing's going to get better while we're far left, far right, and I mean in all aspects, not just American politics. We have to come together. The other thing is, for you, when you're talking about being censored and all that, I'm going to just share something with you that'll help empower you. You're a threat. You're a good threat, okay? What's censoring you is not the threat. You're the threat. okay? You hold the power, okay? Your voice holds power, all of you do. But we get frustrated when we're censored or whatever, we're squelched down, okay? And when you were talking about the in and out of anger, anger coming out is rage, getting it out. But on a psychological level, internalized anger is depression, okay? And when you're censored, it's like, what's the use, okay? Bring the voices, okay? Because you're the threat.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and he's an amazing artist, and he speaks his voice in amazing art. And
Good.
The piece that I want, it's a presence here, being Mr. Powers, I thought I'd talk about power. And there's a deeper empowerment and a deeper power. And Robert goes on, power is the capacity to act, to generate significant thing, to generate significant change, to impose our will on an environment, inner or outer, for better or for worse. We may take our powers, step into it, avoid it, use it indirectly, abuse it, underuse it, refuse it, be seduced by it, give it away, hold on to it, hide behind it, keep it in the shadows, define ourselves through it, and so on. But whatever we do with it, whatever we bring to it, simply reflects our priorities, be they conditioned or not. And he goes on to talk about different kinds of power. Power over is about dominating or controlling another or others, which we can see we do with our aggression. And is a key operational preference of unhealthy manhood, along with power under, meaning finding a certain status or safety and submissively aligning with more dominant or privileged males. Power over and power under are foundational partners in many relationships, often constituting a cult of two, until the downtrodden one takes a real stand against the dominating one. Power two is a healthy approach in relationship, and it is a shared undertaking that may not be particularly intimate, but makes for a more respectful mutuality. Meaning we're going through, we're working together, we have a project, there's a deeper power. What he talks about, power with, is the most life-giving form of power. In intimate relationships, such shared empowerment deepens the partner's bond, helping to bring forth the very best from each other, making it much more possible to share challenging things like fear and mistrust openly and vulnerably. Here, the needs of the partners and the needs of their relationship compassionately coexist. Here, power is an ally, with partners solidly behind each other, rooted in mutual trust. Their shared power deepens their love, and their shared love deepens their power. As it says, I think it was Jimi Hendrix, right? He said, for peace to come on the earth, the power of love must return instead of the love of power. And we often say with our clients, Heather and I, that in the powers of love and who we are, love without power is insipid. It's a beta man. There's this idea of beta man. We're just kind of yes men. Yes men to the authorities, yes men to those who deem power, but we men must take our power back in a way that's filled with love. Because power with love is transformational. And that's what we're learning to do here. We've got, about 10 more minutes? Is there anything, guys, that we've said that you want to touch on?
Can I ask a question to the group, please? So it was really fascinating listening to the individual things that you've shared, but has it been identified yet, or do you gentlemen know within yourselves, what is it the common bond? What is it that you all share together that you all can go into that pool and you're all congruent with? Or has that been identified?
It's a good question.
I like the camaraderie.
Nice.
I like coming here and being with the men. I've never had something like that before, but this is good. I like to be able to share it openly with my friends.
I think because, Jason and I talked before about men kind of see through the lens of logic and women see through the lens of emotion. And so because we're all seeing life through the same lens, it's very we understand each other's bullet points, because that's how we see our own life, is through bullet points, And it's just, it's easier to talk to people that hear you the way that you're heard, because then I talk to somebody who's hearing me from an emotional standpoint, sometimes you feel like the point wasn't validated or understood. Kind of like what you talked about, just like sometimes like the men do the work, you know, and so it sometimes can be frustrating when you feel like you're doing it, but it's not being heard the way that with the intention behind it that you have, because it's being received differently. So I think that a lot of, I mean, I'm going to go on a limb and say that a lot of why we're here is because we feel supported, and if we felt that same support at home, this would not be such a benign thing for us to come do late at night, you know.
Right.
If we felt the support at home, sometimes the things that we speak about would be a lot easier of a topic to approach our partner with if we got the same support.
Yeah, fascinating.
Good stuff.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well said.
I feel like there's like this basic, just this desire to improve as men is nice to kind of isolate, and I think it's one of the things that we have in common here, and in the absence of like a religious dogma, right? Like, so that for me is pretty big for this group. It's like we're here to improve, be transparent, to grow, and we don't have to have any other dogmas attached. So I like the purity of that.
Yeah. That's important. I thank you for presencing that. I mean, that's, you know, and not to, for anybody that has, you know, a path that is more religious for you, but what we do here is it is a spiritual experience by nature.
Sure.
You know, we're tapping into ourself, where spirit resides, and we see the common bond with one another and go, look, I know you want to be better. I know you want to be better. I know we all want to be better men. And we're looking for a place that we can be transparent, because man, this day, this week, whew, I just want to be able, we look forward to coming together, go, look, let me just share my hits, let me share my pits, let me share the valleys, let me share the wins as well as the challenges. And to have it in this container is a gift. And
I look forward to coming here.
Yeah, that's good. And I can tell because when I'm across the hall doing the show every week, you're all here consistently. So kudos to you. You know, commitment is a big deal. You know, it really is. And you're all committed. So I didn't say should be committed. I said
you're all committed. The doctor said it.
It is a mental health institution. I know, but I didn't mean it like that.
Hilarious.
You know, when you said the wins, I want to share something. You know, and a lot of stuff you're saying, it's like food for thought. I'm really listening to what you're saying. And when we were talking about showing emotion, okay, there's something that has shifted, but because it happens over time, we don't really pay attention because of its context. And that's in sports. So most of us here have been on the planet for a while. So especially in the National Football League, it was pretty much if you did something, you scored or whatever, and was flip the ball to the referee. And now there's a lot more display of emotion after something good that's taken place. Okay? In fact, the National Football League for years, NFL, was called the No Fun League, because you can't do this and you can't do that. And celebration is something that's really important. You know, it really is. That's a show of emotion, and it opens the heart, which is naturally where appreciation comes from. And I realize there are cases in sports where there's showboating and things like that. I don't mean that. I mean the ability to display emotion after.
Son. Harry Potter's in the house.
Wow.
You see
magic.
that? I got a lightning bolt on my head. Sorry.
Oh, God.
I used to live on Rawlings and Potter, by the way. It's
Oh,
true.
my God. No, that thing, when he was sleeping, Heather
Right.
drew that on there. No, do you agree or disagree with the ability to celebrate something that's good? You know? I mean, yes, it is.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
Okay, all right.
I think to that point, what you're saying, Nick, and something we noticed recently, and I talked about this, that, you know, no matter what, you know, I don't want to go into the semantics of what happened to this football player, but what I did witness was grown men, gladiators on the gridiron, huddling around one being for his well-being.
Right.
And crying.
Right.
And praying together. And other teams are coming together to pray and go, look, we men, it doesn't matter. We've got to come together and rally around. And I witnessed something that was pretty transformational and to use a word, unprecedented, that's been overused. But I think and it happened at 555, which I was like, whoa, that means big shift. That means a shift of things are happening. And I hope everybody that's here has felt, you know, as I got 5 people here, that there is a big shift with men's hearts. We are being honest. We are being better. We are looking to come together in brotherhood, not to, you know, there's mind melds and brainstorming and business and how to do all that stuff. And those appropriate places, I think, in you know, to find a mastermind group for your business is a very powerful thing. But let's get to our hearts. Let's get to our lives. Let's get to how we're being in our personal lives, our integrity. You know, are we integrating the things that we know? Can we look at our life? Can we look in the mirror and going, I like who I am. I'm proud of who I am. And if I can be, you know, I tend to be better in my life. I tend to be a little more, and if I don't, and I've struggled with self-worth most of my life. And that's why I have to do the work I do. I have to tap into something greater than myself, greater than my family's identity, greater than any of that, and go, there's something working in my life through me, as me, by me. And my intention, and I'm just grateful for every single you, man, sharing tonight. You've made me cry. You've brought me to my heart, and you bring me to my heart every time. As I said, this isn't my group. This is our group. This is us. Sure. You know, and we'd love for it to grow. If you're in the area, if you're local here in Agoura, you know, find us. You know, come. Right, exactly. And I was just going to say that with a couple of minutes left on the broadcast. I know the group will continue. Mm-hmm. You know, first of all, we here at the Newmont Center, Audrey, myself, we appreciate that you do this here. You know, that you feel good about coming here. We love having you here. And absolutely. And, you know, if you are watching somewhere in the Conejo Valley, the West San Fernando Valley, you know, this is where we are in Agoura Hills. And I know that communal things are not for everyone. Some people are more solitary. But if you are in the area, I really encourage you, invite you to come out on a Tuesday night and meet with Jason and these fine gentlemen, and let your heart open up and have the courage to display your emotions. I mean, it's very wonderful. Yeah. And I mean, for now, I mean, it's you gentlemen have the perfect situation. You may get more that come. I don't know, but I think that by broadcasting this, and I will play this and reshare it, that men do feel more comfortable, you know, amongst other men to just, you know, show emotion, talk about what's going on. You're not going to be judged. You're not going to be criticized. When you come here to this group, you'll be embraced. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what's happening here. Come as you are. There are no have-tos, only get-tos here. You know, if you don't feel comfortable sharing, you know, and for those out there, and I want to speak to what you said, if you don't comfortable in a group, you know, find somebody. Just don't do it alone. You know, recently when we heard about Twitch's death, it was the same day or the day before we found out that a dear friend of ours, a police officer, killed himself in a police station. And who knows why, you know, but I just know I've had 3 men in this time of these last 3 years, very close men in my life, who are no longer here. And I just think it's important that we reach out. It's important that we connect. The time of the lone wolf is done, as we read in the beginning. You know, you don't need to be a lone wolf. Find your pack, find your tribe, find your clan, you know, and yeah, just open up and tune into your heart. Wonderful. Heart warriors we are. Right, exactly. For those of you that are watching at home, we are going to close Mainstream Metaphysics on the broadcast. Thank you so much on my podcast, on Jason's podcast, Nick for watching. Newmont. You got to know who this guy is. Thank you. You have been watching Mainstream Metaphysics, which airs every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on my Facebook page. If you'd like, friend me. Thursday nights, Audrey does Conscious Mind Tripping on her Facebook page. Please tune in. It's going to be fascinating this week. And as always, as I say every week, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Jason, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for coming into our living room on Mainstream Metaphysics. And absolutely, and I think down the road, some point we'll do this again. Yeah, we'll watch the progress. Yeah. All right. You gentlemen may continue, be here as long as you want, and the broadcast will say good night. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.